I swear, if that smug jerk said one more thing, I would have smashed his perfect teeth into the wine glasses. I didn't want to be at that dinner. Didn't want the table, the wine, the dim light. And I sure as hell didn't want Jake, Sarah's so-called mentor, sitting across from me in a tight black shirt, like he was trying out to sell muscle powder. But there he was. And there was Sarah, my wife, her hand a little too close to his leg, her laugh a little too loud, like she was drunk on just being looked at. She told me we needed to talk, just us, about serious stuff. I'd hoped, maybe just maybe, she wanted to fix what was broken between us. That she remembered who we were before the quiet settled in like bad air. But when I got there, I knew this wasn't dinner. It was a funeral for us, and I was the only one who hadn't seen the death notice. Mike, she said sweetly, pointing to the empty chair across from them, this is Jake. You've heard me talk about him from work. Heard about him? I'd heard about him enough to know the way her voice changed when she said his name. The way her eyes would drift off when she talked about how amazing he was. He just gets me, she'd once said. That should have been my clue. I sat down, forced a smile, but my fists were already tight under the table. Then Jake leaned in, his eyes locked on mine, like a predator in fancy shoes. Let's make this easy, he said, smooth and cocky. You've got two choices, Mike. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. The room around me faded. The soft music turned to fuzz. Sarah didn't even twitch. She smiled like a queen watching her favorite show start. My ears rang, my throat went dry, and his words echoed in my head. Leave quietly, or face me like a man. He thought I'd shrink, that I wouldn't take the hit and walk away from my life, my home, my wife. I smiled. You want your teeth in one piece or scattered? Then I stood up. The next few seconds happened fast. My hand grabbed the edge of the table. Plates, glasses, and that smug face all crashed down together. Wine flew like blood onto Sarah's white shirt. Screams burst from other tables. Jake tried to stand, big mistake. I hit him once, hard in the jaw. The sound cracked through the room. Years of being frustrated, betrayed, and quietly hurting exploded in that one punch. Sarah screamed, grabbing my arms. Mike, stop. You're embarrassing me. Embarrassing her. That's what she cared about. Not the months she'd been sneaking around with him. Not the lies. Not the way she set this whole thing up to shame me. But the scene I was making. Security dragged me out, my knuckles bloody, my shirt stained. Jake was still on the ground, gasping for air, his tough guy act all over the marble floor. Outside, the cold air hit me like another slap. I stood under the winter sky, staring at the restaurant door as it closed behind them. And that's when I knew. This wasn't the start of something. It was the end. She didn't bring me here to talk. She brought me here to watch me lose. She needed it to be public, clean, a scene where I played the angry, crazy husband, a story she could use to cover up her own mess. That night didn't break me. It woke me up. I drove home in silence, the kind that screams inside you while the world outside pretends everything's normal. When I walked into the house, it didn't feel like home anymore. Same stuff, same walls, same pictures, but the feeling was gone. Something else had moved in. As I walked down the hall, her perfume hung in the air, but there was something else underneath it. A man's scent, strong and unwelcome. My palms still burned, my knuckles throbbed, but I wasn't looking for bandages. I was looking for the truth, something real I could hold on to. I didn't sleep that night, not because I couldn't, but because I wouldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jake smirk again, sitting there like he was trying out for my life. And Sarah, her laugh, the way her hand rested, the way she didn't even blink when he told me to leave my own marriage. That wasn't just cheating, it was planned destruction. She didn't kill me with a gun. She killed me with silence, with not caring, with a dinner reservation in my name. By the time the sun came up, I was still sitting on the edge of our bed, fully dressed, staring at a room that felt fake. The bed was made perfectly, tight corners, no wrinkles. Sarah never made the bed like that, ever. Something was wrong, and now I wasn't just suspicious, I was sure. I started with her closet. Nothing strange until I saw the red heels, sharp and expensive, never worn around me. Sarah hadn't worn heels in almost a year, not since our date nights turned into just watching TV in different rooms. Next, her makeup table. I reached for her tablet. She never locked it, trusted me too much, or maybe she just thought I was too dumb to look. She was wrong. The moment the screen lit up, I saw the picture, her half naked in a mirror, a hotel room I didn't know. Last Saturday, the same weekend, she said she was in Sacramento for her friend's baby shower. Swipe. There he was, Jake, shirtless, brushing his teeth in the background, like it was their honeymoon. My lungs squeezed tight. Swipe again. Videos, voice messages, screenshots. It was all there, the life they'd built behind my back, saved in her phone. His voice came through the speaker. You're my little secret. Her giggle followed, sweet and evil. In one, she called him daddy. In another, she whispered, he still thinks we're having a rough patch. Poor baby, poor baby. That one cut deeper than my own punch ever could. I sat there, frozen, watching my own life disappear. The lies weren't just ideas anymore. They had sounds, movement, smells. They had hotel bookings and expensive underwear tags and bills charged to our shared account. I didn't even notice she'd come home until I heard her coffee cup hit the kitchen counter. She was dressed like nothing had happened, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, phone in one hand, coffee in the other. She walked right past me, scrolling. I didn't say a word, just slid the tablet across the table, screen still glowing. She stopped scrolling, looked down, and froze. Her face didn't change. No gasp, no sorry, not even a lie. She just looked up and said, "Why were you looking through my stuff?" That was it. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me explain." Not even, "It's not what it looks like." Just blaming me. I leaned forward, my voice quiet and steady. You lied to me. You played me. You dragged me to that dinner like I was a side character in your new romance. And now you're mad I found out. She shrugged. You've been boring for a long time, Mike. You stopped trying. I needed someone who made me feel something again. My jaw tightened. And this is what you chose? A muscle head with the brains of a doorknob. She smirked. At least he listens. At least he doesn't make me feel like I'm wasting my best years waiting for someone to grow a pair. That was the moment it hit me like another punch. She never loved me. She loved the idea of me, the safety, the money, the easy life. Once the excitement wore off, she went shopping for upgrades. I stood up, walked to the bedroom, grabbed a duffel bag, and started throwing clothes in. She followed. You're just going to leave? I zipped the bag. You already did. As I walked past her in the hallway, she mumbled something under her breath. I stopped. What did you say? She looked me straight in the eye. You were never good enough for me. I didn't speak, didn't even blink, just walked out, bag over my shoulder, past the photos on the wall, past the lies, past the version of myself who stayed quiet for too long. But something inside me whispered, you're not done yet. The cheap rental apartment was cold, no memories, no smells, no warmth. But for the first time in weeks, I could finally hear my own thoughts, and they were louder than ever. I spent 3 days in silence, not hiding, not crying, but figuring things out. Sarah texted, then called, then texted again. But none of them said, I'm sorry. Instead, you overreacted. We need to talk terms. Let's not make this ugly. Terms? Like it was a business deal? Like our years together, birthdays, vacations, Sunday mornings were just numbers on a page? She was ready to split everything up. On the 4th day, she showed up at my door. No makeup, sweater, tight jeans, the same outfit she wore the night I asked her to marry me on that beach. Planned, familiar, trying to soften me. I opened the door, stepped aside, and she walked in like nothing had happened, sat down, crossed her legs, calm. You've had your tantrum, she said. Now we need to talk about what comes next. I leaned against the counter. You're acting like you didn't set our life on fire and watch it burn with a glass of wine. She said, it wasn't working. You were distant. You didn't see me anymore. I laughed. I saw you every single day. I tried. You're the one who left the room long before I packed my bags. She stood up, started pacing. I needed more. You were just existing. Coming home, watching TV, being that same safe, boring guy I married. And instead of talking, you found someone to screw behind my back. I finished. She turned toward the door. You always have to be the victim. No, I said. I'm not the victim. I'm just done being the fool. Then she muttered it again, cold and without shame. You were never good enough for me. I stopped breathing for a second. Then I said nothing, because I didn't need to defend myself anymore. Instead, I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out a thick, heavy folder, and dropped it on the table. Inside, bank statements, screenshots, private messages, money transfers from our joint accounts, hotel photos, receipts in our names, a copy of her messages with Jake about hiding money. She reached for it. I pulled it back. "What is this?" she asked, her voice cracking for the first time. "Evidence," I said. "I hired someone, an ex-cop friend. No questions asked. He found everything." Her mouth opened slightly, a flicker of fear behind the anger. "You can't do this. I'm filing for divorce. I'm taking everything I can. And when I'm done, your gym buddy will know exactly what happens when you push a quiet man too far. You can't do this." I stepped closer. "You already did. I'm just finishing what you started." She stood there, trembling, for the first time silent. Not smug, not sarcastic, just silent. I walked to the door and opened it. "We're done." She didn't move. I tilted my head. "Leave." She turned slowly, walked out the door, and I swear, for the first time in this whole nightmare, she looked small. I didn't feel like I'd won, not yet. But I felt clear-headed, and that was a start. I thought I'd feel something when the divorce papers were signed. Relief, maybe a bit of satisfaction. But all I felt was numb. No fireworks, no celebration, just quiet and a stranger staring back at me from the mirror. Sarah didn't fight the divorce, not really. Once my lawyer showed her the evidence, her whole attitude changed. She didn't cry, didn't beg, just negotiated, cold and businesslike, like we were splitting a company, not a life. We met one last time in person, a boring office with bright lights and a sweating glass of water between us. She wore a dark suit, barely any makeup, like she was on trial. I barely looked at her. Halfway through signing the papers, she leaned toward me and whispered, "Why are you doing this? You're embarrassing both of us." I kept my eyes on the contract. "You're not embarrassed by what you did," I said. "You're embarrassed that people found out." She sat back, eyes narrowed, said nothing. When it was over, I walked out with my name still mine and a future that wasn't chained to her. She walked out with her reputation damaged and her new boyfriend waiting in the car, tapping on his phone like a teenager. I thought that moment would bring closure, but closure isn't a door you walk through. It's a wall you build, piece by painful piece, from the ashes. Nights were still hard, not because I missed her, but because I missed the lie. I missed believing we were building something real, that we were safe, that love meant being loyal. Some nights I'd reach for my phone to text her, then remember she wasn't wondering how I was. She was probably figuring out how to explain her next mistake to Jake. But life has a way of circling back. A few weeks after the divorce was final, I got a message from him. "Jake, Mike, I need to talk, man to man." I almost laughed. The same guy who told me to leave quietly now wanted to be buddies. Curiosity won. We met at a small coffee shop outside town, public, neutral ground, no chance of another fight. He was late, slumped, pale. His cocky attitude was gone. Even his hair looked flat. He sat across from me and didn't say anything for a while. Then finally, "I think I messed up." I didn't answer. "She's not who I thought she was," he said. I stayed quiet. "She told me things about you. Said you were cold, checked out, stopped touching her." I nodded slowly. "And you believed her?" He looked away. I wanted to. There it was, the sad truth. He wanted to feel like a hero, like he saved her from a bad marriage, instead of seeing he was just the next guy in her story. "She's already seeing someone else," he added, his voice barely a whisper. That made me blink. "Some guy from yoga with a boat. She denies it, says I'm paranoid, but the signs, I know them now." He looked up at me, his face empty. "It's like déjà vu, but this time I'm you." I wanted to feel happy, to smirk, to say, "I told you so." But all I felt was tired. "You played your part," I said quietly. "Now you get to see what it's like on the other side." He rubbed his face. "I don't think she's capable of real love." "She's not," I said. "She's capable of attention, of flattery, of pretending. But when the show's over, so is her interest." He nodded slowly, and for the first time, he looked like he understood. I stood up. "Good luck, man. I mean that." "You're not angry anymore?" he asked. I was. But anger's heavy. I've carried enough already. And then I walked out. The sun hit my face, and I felt lighter than I had in months. I didn't hear from Sarah for a while after Jake's confession. One voicemail, I didn't listen to it, just deleted it when I saw her name on my screen. She didn't deserve closure, not because I hated her, but because closure is earned, not given. I started rebuilding, not with a grand plan, just small steps. A gym membership, long walks. I even called my brother. We hadn't talked in over a year. Sarah used to say he was too negative. Turns out, He just saw through her. Then came the bookstore, a Tuesday afternoon. I dropped a book as I reached for it. Another hand got there first. She smiled, glanced at the cover. Pretty heavy for someone with kind eyes. Her name was Claire. We talked for an hour between the shelves, then got coffee, then just sat in comfortable silence. A few days passed without a word, not because I was scared, but because I was being careful. I wasn't ready to fall again. But she didn't push, didn't pry, just showed up, calm, warm, real. One Sunday, rain tapping the windows like a song, I told her everything. The dinner, the cheating, the voice notes, the blood on my shirt, the man I used to be, the man I was trying to become. She didn't gasp, didn't interrupt. When I was done, she looked at me and said, "That was never about you." That was her own broken self looking for a mirror. That line stayed with me. Weeks passed, then months. One night, Claire and I sat on my small balcony, a smaller place, but warmer in every way that mattered. She was humming to herself in the kitchen, barefoot, dancing to a tune only she could hear. I watched her through the glass door, and something settled in my chest. Not just wanting her, not pride, not even just love. Peace. Not the kind you fake with smiles and perfect pictures, but the kind you earn after walking through fire and making it to the other side with your soul still intact. That night, I dreamed of the old house, the one Sarah and I used to share, but in the dream, it was crooked, small, the shutters hung like broken eyelids, the grass overgrown and lifeless. I drove by it for real a few weeks later. It looked exactly like my dream, empty, unloved, like it had finally given up trying to look like home. I didn't stop, just drove past and smiled, not because I'd won, not because I felt vengeful, but because I had survived. Sarah once told me I was too soft, that I wouldn't handle chaos, that I needed her more than she ever needed me. But there I was, standing scarred, maybe, but sharper, stronger. The storm had passed, and all it did was clear my view. Then one morning, another message from her. "Sarah." Subject line, "Please just hear me out." I stared at it for 5 minutes. Then I clicked. "Mike, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I wouldn't be writing if it wasn't important. I messed up. I see that now. Jake's gone. He left after I found out he was cheating. I'm just alone. I realize now the only time I ever felt truly seen was with you. Maybe I didn't appreciate it. Maybe I was too blind. Can we talk? Just once. Sarah." I didn't respond because I knew the truth. She didn't miss me. She missed the man who used to bend, who compromised, who paid the bills while she chased attention. She didn't want love. She wanted devotion without having to give anything back. And that man, he died at a table covered in broken glass and red wine. Now I had Claire, and Claire didn't ask for proof of my worth. She just saw it. One evening, as we watched the sky fade into velvet, she turned to me and asked, "You okay?" I nodded. Yeah, just thinking about her. She didn't ask for more. Some people get it. Some don't need the whole story to understand the scars. I looked out at the horizon. A new chapter had already begun, not loud, not dramatic, but honest. If I could speak to the man I used to be, the one sitting across from a smug stranger at a restaurant table, watching his life fall apart, I'd tell him this. You won't break. She'll try to convince you it was your fault, that you weren't enough, but you were. You were the anchor, the heartbeat, the one thing real in a house full of masks. And when she walks away, thinking she's heading towards something better, let her. Because freedom isn't found in escape. It's found in rebuilding, brick by broken brick.